Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy all available on one console. Well, that's been around for years, it's called a Wii. But I suppose 3D All-Stars is pretty cool too. In lack of Virtual Console, it is pretty cool to have all these games here in one place. And I know a lot of people have complained about things, but let's be honest, just these games here on their own is pretty worth it. But 3D All-Stars as a collection does have legitimate problems, from controls to emulation issues to lack of bonuses, not to mention the limited release. But that's not what this video is about. Today we will be talking about the cutscenes. While 64 doesn't have many, Sunshine and Galaxy have some of the most cinematic in the whole series. However, I bet some of you didn't know they were pre-rendered. A common technique used by developers. Rather than having animations and camera movements happen in real time in the game's engine, some cutscenes may be made in CG, or may be partially recorded in-engine and edited with extra effects. Maybe because there are too many objects on screen, or to add effects the game can't handle, or for extra detail. Mario Sunshine and Galaxy feature cutscenes like this, but you can't really tell because A, they use assets from the game to stay consistent, and B, these games are at a resolution of 480p, and the cutscenes are compressed to match that. But if you pay attention, you may notice a lot of compression artifacts. Keep in mind, video files take a lot of space. To give you some perspective, this video you are watching right now is a resolution of 1080p. And this is how much smaller 480p is by comparison. And stretching it out makes the picture look, not great. But that's why upscaling exists, which rather than stretching the image, increases the amount of pixels that make up the image. Which is why games from your Wii look much better on your HD TV than from your raw Elgato capture. Keep in mind, these games were not exactly intended to be viewed like this. They were intended to be viewed like this. On one of these bulky, rather heavy boxes. And hey, it looks really good, even as an interlaced signal, no jagged edges, and I might note, this is through these horrible cables. So where am I going with this and 3D All-Stars? Well, one of the things I was looking forward to seeing was the uncompressed versions of Sunshine and Galaxy's cutscenes from before they were downscaled and compressed, because if we know Nintendo, they archive pretty much everything they've ever worked on, from prototype builds to assets. But here's where it gets strange. Rather than using the source files, what we see here is the original release's compressed 480p videos, AI upscaled to 1080. AI upscaling, rather than multiplying the pixels, uses an algorithm to analyze patterns and recreate how it thinks the picture is supposed to look. An example would be this mod made for Sonic Adventure on PC. Sonic Adventure was released on the Dreamcast in 1998, and much like the GameCube displays in 480p. Adventure features a CGI compressed opening that would be reused in subsequent re-releases, but this mod for the PC version uses AI upscaling, and what you see on screen speaks for itself. So in the case of 3D All-Stars, kinda odd that the team working on it went this way instead of using the source files that they should definitely have had access to, but it's way worse than that. Unlike the Sonic Adventure mod, these are from an official Nintendo product, who are well known for their high standards of quality. But these cutscenes are just bad. We have a great start with the sharp splash screen, but the following cutscene features a lot of over-smoothing, looking almost painting-like. When you see the characters moving, rather than the sharp outline you'd expect, the warped picture causes their outlines to wriggle and move about. And right here, when Peach should be blinking in the original, one eye sorta spazzes out for a brief instance, as if the frames were fighting for dominance. As a matter of fact, it doesn't seem to handle anyone blinking well, and while both of these clips were synced at the start, by the end of this cutscene the All-Stars clip is 3 to 4 frames behind, and the next cutscene, as the characters are out in the hot sun, there are heat waves. This makes the warping of characters even worse than before. I might take this time to add that there's an error from the original release for this brief moment. Peach's eye texture is mapped incorrectly to her earrings. But in this version, did they take the time to touch it up? I think you already know the answer to that. Good luck unseeing this. For the most part, these cutscenes are alright, but it's kinda hard not to notice these muddled up details, from the oversmoothing to the warping. These issues persist throughout the game, and even cutscenes I didn't know were pre-rendered stand out, unlike the original. It especially stands out when switching from a cutscene back to in-game, where the visuals are sharp, detailed, and a bit brighter. Little piece of trivia, these upscaled cutscenes are being played in 3D All-Stars itself, and not from the ISOs of the emulated games themselves. Anyway, despite all these problems and issues, I am pleased to see Sunshine finally re-released since 2002, and glad to see people who probably never played it before are finally able to. I'm still bothered the GameCube controls were messed up though. Moving on, let's check out Super Mario Galaxy. Unlike Sunshine, Super Mario Galaxy has been re-released. First on the Wii U Virtual Console, I'm pretty sure instead of emulation it runs the same as inserting a Wii disc, and exclusively in China on the Nvidia Shield. From what I understand though, it's 1080p, but the in-game visuals are scaled up with something called super sampling, and the 2D elements are replaced with higher res versions. And while I can't confirm if anything was reused with this release, in 3D All-Stars I cannot deny how incredible this game looks. While 64 and Sunshine had some graphics upscaled, all of Galaxy's original graphics hold up so well. But let's talk about the cutscenes. Unlike Sunshine, these cutscenes are in 16:9 and running at full 60 frames per second, and for 480p, it looks really good on an HD TV through component cables. But if we take a closer look, we can see quite a lot of compression artifacts and dithering. Now looking at the 3D All-Stars version, on first inspection, it looks rather good and it's not over smooth as Sunshine's. But then you start noticing a few things off. When you freeze frame in places, you'll see a chromatic aberration effect on anything in motion, where shapes and colors don't line up, like ghosting. Or those weird 3D pictures that you need the red and blue glasses for. And let me show you what happens when the camera changes. Did you get that? Let's go in frame by frame. The next frame and the previous frame tend to bleed into each other. That and the chromatic aberration results in a quick red and blue flash. And this happens every single time the camera moves to a new shot. Neither of these problems were among that of Sunshine's AI upscaled cutscenes, so why here? But just like them, these are slightly slower than the original by a few frames, and the warping is still present too. But you'll only notice on something static, like the shot of Peach's face. Noticing the aliasing on her eyelashes, well, the AI upscaling interpreted that as them wriggling around. I could go on, but anything else is pretty much more of what I've already shown. I know these have been hard times for everyone, but this really comes off as lazy, and I'd really like to know what reasons they had for doing this collection the way they did, as well as other questions many would have about this game. I want to call it right now, and even though this game is said to be discontinued after March, I don't buy it. I mean, I did buy it, see? But I think making it limited may have been a marketing technique to get everyone to buy this up in fear of missing out, and that certainly worked because so far this thing has sold the boatload. And later on they'll say, hey, since this sold so well, we didn't think you'd all want this, we're gonna keep selling it, because this isn't the first time this happened. Well anyway, until next time, stay tuned and stay awesome.